Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this MOL webinar. My name is Paul Jager, and you're all very, very welcome this afternoon. I'm going to be guiding you on a brand new course, a brand new qualification that MOL has just launched, and that's our Digital Learning Design qualification. A qualification and a course that is going to guide you on how to design and develop online study materials and online training, which we know is becoming ever more popular. So, our time together, our agenda, we're going to be looking at three things. Firstly, we're going to be looking at how this nationally and internationally recognised qualification is going to be relevant for you. Secondly, we'll actually look at the course itself. And thirdly, I'll guide you on the next steps that you need to take to actually enrol on the programme. Now, a little bit of housekeeping to do before we start. Firstly, please, as we work our way through the webinar, if you have any questions at all, you're very welcome to put them in the chat box. You should see the chat box somewhere on your screen, just depending on your device. And in fact, can I just check with those that are here today? If you could see the chat box, let's just make sure that it's working. Can you just put something in the chat box, even if it's just hi or hello, would be absolutely wonderful. Just to make sure technology's on our side. Cara, Jennifer, Paul, fabulous. Thank you very much indeed. That's absolutely grand. Please, as I say, as we work through the webinar, any questions at all, put them in the chat box. Either I'll answer your questions the very second you put them in the chat box, or if I think they might break our train of thought, then I'll come back to them at the end. But I promise you, no question will go unanswered. Second thing I need to explain, and then I promise we'll crack on with the material. I will do my very, very best to look at all of you straight in the webcam as we're talking. However, I do have, well, to the right of me, a bank of other monitors that I need to check on to make sure we're keeping to agenda. We've got the right slides up. I'm checking the chat box. So if I'm not looking at all of you all the time, you now know why. It's because I'm checking on other bits and pieces as well. So I hope that's okay. Actually, it would be useful if you could just guide me in the chat box. If you're happy to share, just tell me what's your job role at the moment that means that this program may be of interest to you. Only if you're happy to share, because don't forget this session is being recorded, so only share what you're comfortable with. What's your job role at the moment that means this course may in fact be quite relevant for what you do? What do we have? Or I'll share with you the type of people that we tend to get. Actually, one of the types, Carrie, you're a training coordinator. Yes, I can see the alignment between learning the design and development of online training and what you do there. That does make sense. The other one that tends to be popular is teachers, perhaps looking to move from teaching to become an instructional designer. Jennifer, people development trainer. So this course has been very useful for creating digital training content. Hold that thought. I'm going to guide you on exactly how it's going to do that for you. So thank you for that. Liam, head of learning and development, thinking about expanding my own skill set, but also potentially some of my team. Yes, we tend to get that as well. Where in fact, we tend to get the team bit quite a lot, where people will send members of their team on the program so that when they come back again, they've got several who can actually help fulfill whatever sort of online training goals they've got. Paul, learning coach and delivering management qualifications up to level 5. Welcome to my world. And developing group workshops, so needing to develop better resources and training workshops. Again, hold that thought. I'm going to guide you as to exactly how this program will do that for you. Thank you everyone for sharing, greatly appreciated. And in fact, I tell you what, why don't we start by me explaining exactly what this program is going to do. This program is really what they call an end-to-end program, or an end-to-end course, which means it covers all the subjects you need in order to effectively design and develop either online training materials or an online course. So it will cover things like understanding what the learner's needs are, or understanding, if you're working for an employer, what the employer's needs are from that training. So we cover that to start with, and we use things like what are called learner personas to be able to help you with that. Then using that information to help you effectively design and develop the program. So that's that middle bit. But you've also got the end portions as well, which is we also cover how to effectively roll out that training, and perhaps most important of all, perhaps how to evaluate that training, how to understand whether it's met the goals that have been set, and if not, how then you're going to enhance the program using that evaluation data to better the program itself. So we go right from the beginning, what the needs are, through the design and the development phases, right through to the rollout, and right at the end, the evaluation. So the program will cover all of those elements. In fact, it covers them in 10 modules, but again, I'll show you that shortly. It was interesting with you sharing your sort of backgrounds and how therefore this course may resonate with you and may well be able to help you. So we've got on this slide here how it might be relevant either for you as an individual or for your business, whether you're actually the head of that business or thinking about putting staff through the actual program itself. Now, in fact, I tell you what, as we're going through this, let me mark these out. So first thing to say, and I will cover this in a little more detail in a minute, this is a nationally and internationally recognized course, internationally recognized qualification. So it's not just a qualification that has been put together by a training organization. It is awarded through, as you'll see in a minute, Glasgow Caledonian Uni. Secondly, I think there can be no doubt, because of all the elements that are going to be covered in the course, you will end up knowing a lot of relevant information to help you with the design and development. You will feel at the end of it, a real expert in it. And again, I'm going to talk from personal experience. I do have this qualification, and in fact, I will be delivering this qualification to you when you enroll on the program. So I have experienced it myself, and I can guide you that everything it covers is absolutely relevant to the design and the development of online training. You'll also, when you come on the program, at the end of it, you will have toolkits, templates that you can take away with you that are yours for you to use with your design and your development. So it isn't just a course, finishes at the end and that's it. You have things that you can take away with you and use yourself. And in fact, a couple of you, or at least one of you mentioned this, there's no doubt it's going to help your learning and development career because of the elements that we cover. Now, if we flip that and look at this from a business point of view, if you're a business and you think about putting employees on this program, I mean, there can be no doubt that you're going to save costs, because if you've got people in-house who can design and develop, then you're not having to use external parties who, by their very nature, are obviously going to be expensive to use. Secondly, if you start to use staff internally to design and develop, who knows your organization better than you and your staff? So they're going to be able to adopt the platforms that you use far better. And in fact, we'll mention this as well. They're also going to understand the trends that are happening in the digital workspace at the moment and make sure that you keep ahead of that innovation, if that's one of the goals that you have for your particular training. And the other thing, interesting that we've left this to the last point. One of the elements of the course itself is you creating an e-portfolio. The qualification is quite happy as far as this e-portfolio is concerned, which is basically you putting together a sample of some online training. Now, that could be podcasts, it could be video. The qualification doesn't mind. But you can actually use that outside when you finish the qualification and hopefully passed it. You can then use that back in the workplace again. The course is quite happy for you to do something that's relevant to you within the course and then use it back in the workplace again. So there's no problem there at all. Now, I have mentioned a couple of times that it's a national and internationally recognised qualification. Just to guide you, in this country, and in fact, I tell you what, I'll mark that out here just to make life easier. In fact, that's That's not brilliant. I'll put it there, but you know exactly what I mean. There we go. It's a level 5 qualification. So in this country, that's a similar level to a degree, a similar level to a degree without the honours portion of it. And then you could see, if you're based elsewhere, you could see Europe, Ireland and Scotland, exactly, there we go, exactly what the equivalent is. So you can see you're talking about a very respected level of qualification here, level 5, similar level to a degree, not to be sniffed at. And as you can see here, it's been awarded by Glasgow Caledonian, which is a very respected university. Well, in fact, they mention the Times ranking here. They do. Met the Times ranking in 2022. So you are getting a bona fide, nationally and internationally recognised qualification. The course itself, you can divide, with all the information that it covers, you can actually divide it into 3 separate areas. Firstly, we will cover the fundamentals of learning. So what it is to create the right learning environment. Now that might be if any of you know Robert Gagne's 9 learning principles, we will cover that. It could be covering Bloom's taxonomy, which is how to write learning outcomes, goals at the right level. We cover all of those elements and an awful lot more, so that you create the right learning environment in which to deliver your online training. Second stage is that on the course, you actually get to practice. You actually get to put all of this into practice. Networking is a very large part of the course. So you will work with other learners. There's a team challenge that you will do together, so that you're not only learning from the study materials on the course itself, but from each other with all the experiences that you bring to the table. And you will create an e-portfolio that I mentioned earlier, which you can use to showcase, whether it's within the course itself or back outside to your employer, your workplace, or if this is to do with you perhaps looking at a change of career, you can use that e-portfolio as part of your overall portfolio to show potential employers. So 3 stages or 3 elements of the program. And that is then divided into 10 modules that you will cover. So the 10 modules, the first 3 modules, module 1, module 2 and module 3, everyone will cover. They're really your core modules. And they will cover how to understand what learning needs need to be met, whether that's a learner's learning needs or an organization's learning needs, or perhaps you're actually writing training material for a qualification where there's already goals or already a syllabus or a qualification specification in place. So you will learn how to do that. We'll then cover in those 3 modules, as I mentioned earlier, how to create the right learning environment, making sure learners are motivated, get feedback throughout the program, are evaluated at the end, are given a hook right at the beginning to really whet their appetite so that they're motivated enough to want to, when they come on the course, give it 100%. We will cover all of those. That's Gagne's elements. We will cover all of those particular elements, that learning environment itself. We will cover design, general design principles with a chap called Mayer. And I think that's 12 principles that we cover when you actually design the program. This is more the visual design of the program itself. We will cover different ways that you can actually structure your training. If anyone's heard of ADDIE or SAM, or the backward method, we will cover all of those as well, so that you know when you're designing your training, you're covering every step you should be covering. You're missing nothing out. So that's the first 3 core modules. Module 4, which you can see here, and modules 5 to 8 are then areas that you can specialize in as far as your e-portfolio is concerned. So if you want to study particularly Module 4, multimedia e-learning, which is very popular at the moment, or you might want to do a virtual classroom environment, or you might want to learn about video-based learning, again, which is quite popular. you will study one of these particular modules. Now, in fact, we do suggest that you study the beginning of each of these modules, but you specialize in one of them as far as your ePortfolio is concerned. So you don't have to do them all. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. And then finally, there we go, if I'm a bit quick on the slide there, you have module 9 and module 10, which goes back to what I'd said at the beginning, which is these modules will cover how to roll out the program and then how to understand how the program has, or if it's met its goals, how it's met its goals, whether there's any enhancements that need to be added. And we'll use things like, if any of you know about Kirkpatrick's evaluation method, we will use that and others as well to be able to guide us on that. But again, you'll be looking at some tried and tested fundamental and core models that will underpin all the rest of your learning. And then you have a final assessment, which comes in 2 parts, and that is an ePortfolio, which is 60% of your course, and then you'll do an online exam, which is, and that's multiple choice, which is 40% of your program. Can I check before I move on? Is everybody happy with that? Any questions anybody would like to ask before I move on with this? Or are we happy at the moment? We might be happy at the moment, have no outstanding questions. Doesn't look as if I've got any moment. That's okay. Let's move on. When you come on the course, it's all very well for me to guide you on what you're going to cover and the modules that you're going to cover, but the experience, the positive experience that you're going to have is equally as important. And we tried to distill that down on this particular slide. So you can see that there are in fact 2 varieties of the course that you can decide to pick, and I'll cover those shortly. But one of them includes live virtual classes. They're not mandatory. You don't have to come along if you don't want to, but those that do come along, they use it for networking. They use it to work together. As I say early on, there's a team challenge, and there will be a tutor there. It'll be myself there, for example, that will moderate the session. It's not really a session about learning anything specifically, because that is in the main learning materials that I'll show you shortly. It's more about putting into practice what's been learned. It's more about sharing ideas or querying anything that doesn't make sense and you need guidance on. And they can be very popular virtual classes. You will then have your resources, which I'm going to show you in a minute. I'm actually going to take you onto the hub and show you what the actual course hub looks like with all the materials. You have your toolkits, which I mentioned. When you finish the program, you will have things like templates. So if you need a template when it comes to actually designing the program, or a template for actually rolling the program out, there will be templates there. They're yours to keep at the end of the program. They're yours to use for your own design and development. You will build that project portfolio, so you can do it as part of the program. And if you want to do something that will be absolutely relevant to your own organization, you're very welcome to do that. And you can then use it back in your organization at the end of the qualification. There will be support. In fact, there's support in a number of ways. So there's a forum, for example, that, I will moderate. There's also one-to-one mentoring that you can have if you need it along the way. That's also available too. In fact, I think one of my colleagues is going to be doing that. And then we have this this student community. These are really communities of learning. So this is where we have a forum where if you've got any questions or you want to share anything, or as we go through the program, once you picked your project idea, you can share your idea with everyone, because no one's in competition with each other. So you can share your idea with anyone, get a little bit of feedback. So it really is that, that community environment that we do look to foster. And is very popular in this particular program. So that's the positive experience you'll have beyond the subjects and the topics and the learning that you're actually going to be doing. Right, I'm going to share with you now the actual hub itself. I want to show you what it looks like, what the course material looks like, because it's actually designed in a particular way. So I did have this all lined up. So I am hoping this is going to be fairly seamless, that you should be able to see the hub. In fact, I'm going to ask you in one moment. Can you just let me know in the chat box? Can you see the hub? They're like small boxes. If you can see it, they'll be like small boxes. Ah, superb. Well done. So when you come onto the program, I mentioned there are 10 modules. And you could see, in fact, the modules are spread over several pages. I have made this screen a little small, so let's see if I can make it slightly larger for you. There we go. The material, it's very intuitive. It's easy to navigate. There are breadcrumbs along the way. If you ever lose where you are, you can always get back to the position you were before. It's been built in a very specific way to help your learning and to help you navigate. Now, I did decide I was going to pick, let's go into module 1, because I think that will be a fairly good guide. So each module covers a topic. When you get into the module, it is divided further into smaller bite-sized chunks of information, so you never feel overwhelmed with huge swathes of text. That doesn't happen. It's divided into smaller chunks. So if we go into, let's go into digital learning options, which is lesson 1. Now you have an introductory video, but we'll go into lesson 1 here, and hopefully you can see, you will have an opening video. And in fact, I am going to mute that. You have your opening video there. Then you get into the meat and potatoes of lesson 1. And in fact, we'll restart it there. And I will mute it again so you don't have to listen to that. So, lesson 1. Lesson 1 looks at the options you have as far as digital delivery is concerned. So you have your opening video. In fact, let's get past that. Then you will have a little test. Now, this is a private test. Nobody knows what your answer or what your results are. But the test is really to be able to start at the beginning, to be able to gauge what you already know. And in fact, we'll get through that test very quickly. We won't worry too much about what the answers are. You can do that yourself. You then get to the main part of lesson 1, which in this case is looking at different categories of online learning, different models. Again, let's go into models. You have your introductory video again, and then it's divided into the material that you'll need to learn for this particular lesson. What shall we go? Let's go into blended learning. But you could see there's several hybrid, HyFlex we cover as well. So again, you don't just have a screen of text that you've got to read through. It's far more interactive. Than that. So you could see on the blended side, we're going to be looking at, well, blended from a technology point of view, whether it's face-to-face or in fact online. Then you can click on your little elements here that will give you more information. And this is true right the way throughout the program. So you have a mixture of drag and drop little quizzes, you'll have videos, you'll have more interactive features as far as the material is concerned. And that's true as module 1. You can see you've got your 5 lessons here, all constructed in a similar way. And then you've got your what's next. So what are your next steps as far as this lesson is concerned? What's important about the way the program's been designed is that it is divided into smaller chunks of information that if you only have a certain amount of time to study, let's say per week, you can easily fit it into that particular study time. You're not expected to read, I don't know, 100 pages of a book, for example, you know, in a single week. It's divided into smaller chunks so that you can really build what time you have to study around those smaller chunks. And it will keep track of where you are in the process. So when you go back in, if you can't remember exactly where you were in the module, it will take you to the appropriate part. Of course, you can go back again. That's not a problem. If you want to go back again to a particular video, you can do that as well. But it will keep track of what you need to learn. So if I just go back to the dashboard, one moment. So you can see you've got your different modules here, and in fact there's then several other pages because there's 10 modules in all, and you can see that each of the areas I discussed before, you've got a module for each of those here. Right, let's go back to our slides again. I mentioned earlier that there are two varieties of this course that you can choose. Either you can go for the live online, or you can go for the on-demand. Now, with the live online, if I should say on-demand and live online are actually very, very similar, except that the live online is for those of you where you want to fast track your studies. It's a 22-week program, which actually sounds quite a lot. It's actually not very long at all. It's a 22-week program, all in all. The on-demand, however, if you think, look, I've got a very busy life, whether that's social, whether that's work, whether that's both, I really need to study at my own pace, then you would pick the on-demand, which is in fact, you have access for 12 months. So that's the first difference between the two. Second difference is that with live online, you have access and the facility to come along to the live virtual classes, which, as I mentioned earlier, they're not mandatory, but they are a place where they're tutor moderated, and you will come along, and as I say, you will get to practice some of the stuff that you've actually learnt on the Knowledge Hub itself. You will get to meet others and network and share ideas. Live online has that, on demand doesn't. But apart from that, you could see that with live online, because there's workshops, everything's properly timetabled, you still have the hub material as well that you go through. You've got your 22 weeks to be able to go through it. You've got your mentoring support. Some people need it, some people don't. You don't have to take it, but it's there if you do need to have that facility. You've got the forum as well. The on-demand, perhaps more self-contained, 12 months for those of you who think, love to do the program, life's really busy, I need a little bit of breathing space with my studies, I need that 12 months. And if you're not too concerned about coming along to live webinars, then you would pitch in on the on-demand element. As far as the price is concerned, or in fact you can see the price here, £1,950. That's excluding VAT. Now, obviously, if you're a company, VAT is not going to bother you too much. If you're an individual, you just need to obviously just bear that in mind. That covers, we normally do this in 30 minutes. In fact, we've done it in 28, which is very, very good. That really covers everything that I need to cover as far as content is concerned. Really, two other bits that I do need to cover. Firstly, please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat box. I'm very, very happy to answer any questions that you might have. Anything and everything I'm happy to answer. While you're thinking about what your questions are and putting them in the chat box, your next steps. You can contact us in one or two ways. Obviously, it's been quite a speedy time together. We've had, barely 30 minutes. I've given you the overview of the program, but if you have more in-depth questions, whether that's about content, whether that's about payment plans, for example, which we have, whatever the question might be, you can contact us in one or two ways. You could see the email address, inquiries@mollearn.com, or you're very welcome to contact us using the telephone number, and you can see the telephone number there. My colleagues will be able to guide you on all of that. And if there's anything they can't guide you, they will come to me and I'll be happy to guide you. Right, let's have a look at any questions. Jennifer, you said you could pick all or some of the elective modules. Is there a minimum we have to do? Oh, Jennifer, good question. When you do your e-portfolio, you will pick, your e-portfolio really is all about demonstrating that you understand how to design and develop for online delivery. You're not expected to create an entire program. In no way are you expected to create an entire program. You're just going to create a large enough sample to demonstrate that you can design and develop and you understand the underlying principles. So that's the e-portfolio bit. And you will pick one way to demonstrate that. So you might design and develop a podcast in which case you can do the podcast module. You might pick the video element, in which case you will do the video module. So Jennifer, you'll pick one of those modules between modules 4 and module 8. You will pick one of them. However, it's very likely that you'll also go into the other modules, when you have time, and just look at the initial information on it. Now, there may be some of you that actually study each of those modules because you've got the time to do it. But if you don't, you are not expected to do module 4 to module 8. You will do one of those. Jennifer, does that help? Does that guide you? If not, superb, absolutely wonderful. Actually, one of the other things I should say that does tend to be a popular question, but it may be because I did sort of mention it earlier, which is there is a payment plan. So if you're thinking about coming on the program and you want more information about that, do contact my colleagues and they'll be very happy to guide you. Any other questions? Anything I can help with? Anything I said that made no sense whatsoever and you need additional information on? Now's the time to shout, yell, or scream, or we might be all questioned out. I might get away scot-free. It looks if I am. Please, when you finish this webinar, if a question suddenly pops into your noodle, you now know where to contact my colleagues. And I say, if they need to contact me because you've got a very specific question, I'm happy to do that as well. But in the absence of any questions, I'm going to bring the webinar to a close. I hope that's been of use to you. Hope the program really interests you. Hope to see you on the program at some stage. But for now, fly. Go and enjoy the rest of the day. Hopefully see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.